So thank you everyone for jumping on. As you know, we are doing another Finlocker session today. So we're going to be focusing on the data sharing portion and some of the new features that are going to be rolling out over the next few weeks. So they're going to go through just the typical layout as we've done in the past. So they're going to go through a little bit of a presentation, and as you have questions, please put them in the Q&A or the chat, and then we'll stop at certain points. So if you have a more in-depth question, we can stop and bring you in to talk if need be. But having said that, I will turn it over to you guys, and yeah, any questions, just put them in the chat.
All right, thanks, Val. So yeah, we've been hearing from the community here that, you know, data sharing consent, I think there's some questions around there, maybe concerns from some of your clients. And so we wanted to clear that up and make sure everyone's under a clear understanding, and then also, you know, ask any questions. So can everyone see my screen? Can you give me an audio check?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yep. So I just put here in a slide, just easy to see. This, when we talk about data sharing, there are two types of data sharing. There is the upfront, when someone's enrolling, so right after they accept the terms of service, which is they have to do, they have to accept the terms of service, there is this optional data sharing consent. And I'll go in to show what that means here in just a second. But this is upfront. And so when they agree to this, or if they agree, they don't have to, and they can either agree or not agree. Either way, they get let into the locker. If they agree, there is some data that's unanonymized. It's not stuff like what's in your bank account, how much is in your bank account, who do you bank with. It's not, there is not your exact credit score. There is not, you know, a lot of the very sensitive information that you would think of at like a point of sale at the mortgage application process. There's not a lot of that information in there. There is a second thing that Ethan's going to show you later in the demo of when it gets to that point where they're ready to apply for a mortgage. They think you can use a feature on our app, and it's optional. We'll explain, you know, the ins and outs of that. And that's where there's explicit consent at that point in time. And then they would understand what they are sharing. They select what to share. And for example, like if they had 10 different accounts, they could pick just the 5 to share, and that's all you would see being as a mortgage advisor on your side. So there are, again, two types of data sharing consent. The first one, which is upon enrollment, and again, it's optional. And I'll show you what it looks like here. So I'm going to jump over to the actual admin portal. And so today, everybody can see this. It doesn't matter if they agree to the data sharing consent or not. It's very simple, just registration information. So you can see the email, who's registered, first and last name, their mobile number, the status date, which is the date they first created their locker, and then when they're last active, and then for, you know, use their mortgage advisor to see who's assigned to you. That is there today. That has nothing to do with the consent. So everybody will see that minimal information. Now, we go over to the locker section. This is stuff where today everything is anonymized, because even though have been doing that consent, we've been tracking data, but at the end of the month or first part of next month, for the people who have consented, we are going to start unanonymizing data for the people who consented. And just for an overall status check, almost 80% of the article ownership consumers have consented to this optional data consent up front. So, and 83% for NEO have consented. So there's a high consent rate already. What is that going to mean? I'm going to jump over a slide. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you live because it isn't live yet, but I'm going to jump over to a slide here. So what will they see? When someone consents and we release this update, that again will be at the end of the month, first part of next month, the AOH Val will probably be communicating when we have to go live. But what you're going to see is when data sharing is enabled, meaning they've consented, you're going to see this populated with some information. This is all test data, so you know, forgive me for it's not exact, but the look and feel is going to be the same. So you're going to see something populated. If it's not populated, then you're not going to have anything. That means they have not consented. But what they have consented, this week populated, it'll give you the feature to drop down. And then you'll be able to see first name, last name, email address. We're not going to give you the exact credit score, but you're going to see a credit score band within a 10-point range, what range they're in, and this will be the previous credit score band. So you can see if they progress. So for example, this one's saying 700, and if they were at a 680 to a 690 band before, it would tell you that. If they've enrolled a property, it will also tell you their property value. The other things that it's going to tell you is progress. So think of milestones. So have they enrolled in credit? Yes or no. Have they enrolled or filled out the profile? Yes or no. Have they enrolled a property? Yes or no. Do they have any goals? And if so, you'll be able to click on those goals and see what what goals that they have set. And have they run readiness? So again, this upfront consent is not about getting like a mortgage application process where you're really peeking behind the curtains and seeing all of the bank account information, exact credit score, everything that's on the credit report. It's none of that. It's this information here. Questions on that piece? Do we have any questions in the chat? Sorry.
I just want to say, I don't know if our if the art of homeownership or Neo Experience partners are setting any sort of expectation with giving consent, but the 80% and I don't know what the Neo Experience, like 70-something% is, that's awesome. So if you are setting those expectations, that's great. And if you're not, it's just more of an incentive to do that, because once that goes live, that's going to be a game changer. So love to hear it.
Yeah, and if you do get questions from your consumers, again, it goes back to what I just explained. The upfront consent is very minimal. It's just going to let you know milestones, how you're progressing. You're not going to be able to see in that consumer's account, all the details of the credit report, all of what everything is in the bank accounts, all of that stuff. It's just what is here on the screen. Now since we're on data sharing, let's go to the second piece of data sharing. I'm going to flip this over to Ethan to show. And this is what Ethan's going to show here is the explicit data sharing consent. So this is not a consumer does not have to use this feature. You as mortgage advisors, depending on how your setup is, it may make sense and may help really streamline the process. It may not make sense. You might have a separate point of sale you want to put them in. But what we do at the data sharing process, at the end of the process, so if they're ready, they can share more information. So what's in those bank accounts? What's what documents do they want to share? What liabilities do they have? And we are a D1C VOA provider today. So if they share assets through this process, you'll get a D1C. And then soon we'll have income and employment in here so that they can also generate an income and employment report through this process that Ethan's about to show you. But right now, the way it sits is you're going to get notified. You're going to log into the admin portal, and you're going to then get a preview of the information in the admin portal. Then you'll be able to download that information. And we generate a MISMO file that can be dropped directly into most LOSs. And so that can pre-fill a lot of the 1003 application. But I know some of our clients are very hardwired into their point of sale process. You have to start them there. So we're just explaining all of this so you can make the best judgment on what it is for yourself. And then I'll let Ethan now show the details of what this is.
All right. You guys see my screen up here?
Yep, looks good.
Awesome. So for a consumer to access the full share, they're going to get that through the navigation menu. Oh, got logged out. It'll be on the navigation menu on the web, and then also in the app, they will access that through the nav menu. It's labeled as Lender Connect, which is a recent change. It used to be called Share Center. So look out for that if you're trying to access it. Here we go.
While Ethan's pulling that up, sorry, one last.
I'll go, Chris.
One just comment before I forget, the upfront consent that we talked about, where it's just that if one of your clients is having really heartburn with that, they can always decline up front and then go and change that in their settings later and then accept, or vice versa. So if they're all of a sudden uncomfortable at some point, they can turn it off. So it's that, and the client's full control at any point in time to turn that on or off. Sorry, Ethan.
All good. So here's Lender Connect here on the nav menu. When a consumer first opens that up, if they have any data that they previously shared through this process, they could view those details of what was shared if it was accepted. But to start a new share, they'll just hit that button in the top right corner. On this page, it's going to be like some of the loan details. If they've already filled out their profile, much of this will be pre-filled. So really, they're just selecting the loan type, the type of property. Our loan amount was already filled out in our profile, as well as our social security and income. So just verifying that everything looks correct here. If they wanted to add a co-borrower's info here, they could. Not a requirement though. And then so on this page, this is where it's really going to be a summary of everything they have linked in their account. So pulling in that contact information, just entering property address or current address. And then here they can select all, or just select a couple of the accounts. If they know they got their down payment funds in one account, they can just share that account. Any of the liabilities they wish to share, and then any documents they have stored as well. So for this consumer, they just have W-2s and pay stubs in here. We'll select those. And then down at the bottom, there's another consent here. So this one, you're acknowledging that you consent to share your data for the purposes of a mortgage application. So it's going to be valid for 60 days from today's date. And then you'll hit submit. And then on the back end, that will appear in the admin portal. And then you as the loan officer, you'll also get an email notification just letting you know that someone went through this full share process. It'll have a hyperlink that'll take you back to the admin portal to log in, where you see that consumer's info. So what you see off the gate, you'll get a summary of what was shared, the name of the accounts, the account balances, and then the name of any of the PDFs that were shared. And then to accept, very simple, just hit that button and then it'll start to generate the asset report for any of the asset accounts that were shared. And it does take a few minutes, so I've just got a zip file pulled up here on the side to show you what that looks like. So this one was for a different share. You see we have the two PDF documents, pay stubs and tax returns. The Fannie and the Mismo data sets here. So those can be imported to pre-fill the 1003. And then the asset report, which is the D1C approved asset report. And that's going to have a 60-day list of all the transactions that occurred in any of the asset accounts that were shared, as well as the asset key that can be plugged in to DU. And then I believe the consumer can also revoke the share. No, never mind.
I think that's coming next release.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is really the two different types of data sharing. One, again, is upfront. This one is a walkthrough process, and they're explicitly selecting what they want to share and consent in an additional consent. So there's shouldn't be any confusion on the consumer's part about, this particular piece. I get it up front when you're having talks with your clients. And if they do have that, again, they can still decline that optional one up front and turn it on later if they're not comfortable. But really the thesis is that it's milestone level data, so you can help your clients along and see how they're progressing in the app. What are they using based on what you've discussed with them and what they're trying to do. So for example, if they're trying to get their credit score up and they haven't even enrolled in credit yet in the app, that's probably a time to have a conversation.
I just want to make sure that this is clear, because this is a question that we have gotten a few times. So even in the next rollout where the data sharing is live, you the mortgage professional cannot see the actual transactions in the bank account, correct?
On not the upfront consent, but this one that Ethan just walked through, that VOA report will have transactional information.
Got it. Okay.
It's a standard VOA report.
Okay.
I saw a question from David here. So will this integrate with Simple Nexus to populate most of the application for us? Or if not, will this be able to create an application with Encompass directly? So it's not integrated with Simple Nexus today. That MISMO file that we generate though can absolutely be dropped into Encompass to create the app or create that file.
And I just shared over what that asset report looks like. This one just has some test data on it. So it gives you the ending balance for each account that was shared over, a deposit summary across all accounts for that 60-day period. And then here's where it's more of like the transactional data, the bank statement look and feel for each account that was shared over.
Following up on David's question, how would we do that with Encompass? So I don't know the exact section for Encompass. We have people on our side who know that. Unfortunately, I cannot answer that, but we can get back to you on that. On our side, Brian Coleman, would you take that question down, please? Of how we drop the 1003 and Encompass, what section it is, and we can get back to you, David.
Okay. I think those are all the questions right now.
All right. So Val, I know we had some questions about HomeBinder, how to find it in the app. Do you want to go there next?
Yeah, let's do that. Where to find it within the app.
Okay. So I'm going to show you both web and mobile. Let's just back up.
And Chris, is this how the mortgage professional, is that what you're going to show us, how the mortgage professional finds their HomeBinder link, or how the consumer accesses it?
This is how the consumer accesses it. If there is,
okay.
I could show both. What I understood from speaking with Nikki yesterday is that at least for AOH, everybody has already been set up with their HomeBinder link. So let's just say there's a couple ways to access it. You can access, and this is the same both for mobile and web. I'll show you both. I'll show you both, but we'll show web now. You can go through the My Property view details here on the dashboard, or up in the hamburger menu up here, you can navigate to My Property. Within My Property, there is a Home Maintenance tab. And so what Val is referring to is each one of you in your profile, there is a HomeBinder or Home Maintenance link that you can drop in there. And when that's dropped in there, that populates this Create Account button that, for this one, we're using Ryan Grant's. It'll be that explicit login directly for Ryan Grant. And then there's also just the login button if they've already created an account, and it will take them to log in. So that's there. Let me just show you real quick on mobile. So same thing. It's either down under your My Properties, your Home Value section, where you can click View Details here, or up in the hamburger menu, I clicked on the top right here in My Property. And then this is just a scroll down here in the same concept. The Create Account is your custom link that is in your profile. And then the login is just a generic login to HomeBinder. So we got a question.
So really, once they drive the consumer to the app, they really can access, and that was the whole point of us creating the app, they can access everything from inside that app. So once they get in there, they can access the mortgage professional specific HomeBinder account.
That's correct. Yeah, so they could sign up for the specific one, and then they have to log in. And most people just have safe credentials, so just navigate them and it'll log them in automatically. But yeah, that's essentially what it is.
And Matt is asking, are we able to co-brand a realtor or another partner on the app alongside us to the consumer? If so, how?
So today we do not have the concept in the primary app of co-branded with realtor. That is coming. It's probably not going to be until an early next year thing, but that is coming. For those people who are signed up with Home Scout for the property search functionality, that is a configuration on our side where we could set you up, and that could be co-branded. So then the property search feature within the app, if you already are a Home Scout customer, you can reach out to the AOH team and they can get with us and we can get that configured for you. But that's the only co-branding with realtor at this point, but in the app, it's coming, it's just not there yet. So I have two more questions. So going back to the home minder, we have to create logins and accounts outside the app. Yes, they'll have to create the login, the account, but it takes them directly to the loan officer, the mortgage advisor's page to create that. And then that login will bring them directly to the next page. But it's not a single sign-on experience today, but people can just save their credentials in it. So it's just a quick login. No, so the home binder, if we're talking about, James, we're talking about the home binder functionality. Is that what you're referring to? Or Home Scout?
Yeah, so I think, so they have to go outside the app. So they access, James, they access the actual button within the account. It will just take them to a different window, but they access everything in one consolidated place. So they can be directed where they need to go. If that makes sense. Okay.
Let me show you what that kind of experience from mobile. So it just gives you a little pop-up within the app itself to say, hey, to your page. So this is the create account page. So it's more seamless than going to like a separate web page, but it's not like with a directed app. Home Scout, yes, is automatically part of this app. Now that is the Finlocker branded Home Scout. So I'll show you up here. As far as like getting you branded on there, that is where you'd have to be a Home Scout customer to get yourself branded through that process. But yeah, Home Scout is part of the app. And then, sorry, I'm just reading one of these questions here. Yeah, Home Scout is part of the app. What is the significance of paying extra for branding? I think that's a subjective question. I don't know exactly answer, but I mean, it's just an extension of more branded experience. What it does do as far as if you are a Home Scout customer, similar to like you do on HomeBot, you can send out home digest, home value reports. You get a lot of lead information and notification, a lot of activity on what that consumer is doing within the property search functionality. So if they've saved a particular property or they've saved a search, that's where some of it goes beyond branding. It's that activity information on the particular user, because as just out of the box, we automatically create the user in Home Scout. If they click that property search, we automatically create it through a single sign-on process. So a user doesn't have to have a separate Home Scout account. Yes, so it does communicate with the LO differently, because you'll be getting direct notifications from the LO. So for example, today, if someone saved a search or said they were interested in a particular property, we could go and tell you that, like, hey, this particular consumer is interested in it. But if you are a Home Scout customer, then you would get that directly, and you'd be able to manage that within the Home Scout dashboard as well.
I do think I think Roger had a question that's coming through. Is there a way to separate clients by realtor partners in the future? If I have realtors putting people on this, how can I keep track of it? So I'm going to say that's probably on the CRM side of things, right, Chris? Like you would just differentiate that in the CRM, and then once they come back through the app, that's how you would differentiate which realtor they came from?
Well, I think there's a couple ways to do that. Yeah, yes, definitely in CRM, but within the app, you could create another link for yourself. So let's just say Val is my realtor, and I had my own, just one for myself, but that I gave to clients. But if Val was bringing people in, I could create a separate invite code that would assign to me, but it would be Val's link as well. So anyone can see who signed up on that link. So there's that kind of, as far as tracking, that exists within the app today. It's just a matter of setting up your links and then you name the link, whatever your realtor partner is.
Got it. Okay. So you would just create a link for each of your referral partners.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
And again, the co-branding with realtors is coming. It's not there yet. It'll probably be an early next year type of item.
Would the realtor get any notifications or just the loan officer?
Assuming that, I'd have to ask that question back to Home Scout. I believe that's configured whether you want them to get that or not. I think there is capability for the realtor to get it if you're again, a Home Scout client. Probably a custom app code that we create for those. Yes. So we do have the ability to run a script to say, so if it was like, it has to still fall within the 8-digit character. So for example, David, if you wanted to say, create one of your links and say David 123, we could do that. Now we need, Val, that's kind of a management item that we need to get do that in bulk for people and make sure that other people haven't taken that. But yes, we could update that 8-digit code to something else. It still has to be 8-digit, alphanumeric, or all letters or all numbers or a combination of both. But we do have that ability. I'll let you take that.
David, just shoot me an email and I will keep track of it. James, to answer your question, there is some overlap with HomeBot. We kind of addressed this early when we were launching the app, and the consensus was really that this is an opportunity for, like, if there is discrepancy between those two, it's an opportunity for you to just work with the consumer to look at that. So it's just another possible, because if they're looking at their home value and they're really serious about knowing what it is, they're likely looking at refinancing or whatever that is. So that's just an opportunity for them to reach out to you, to just have another conversation. So Chris, I think another point that we wanted to cover today was looking at the admin portal. So we got some questions about being able to see everyone's invite links. And then I know there was another portion to that we wanted to cover.
Yeah, I got the two.
Some of the access tabs. Yeah.
So the invite links, we don't have control down to, the person of Steve. It's just, if you have access to the invite section, you have access to it. And the thought is that, you need access so you can manage your own links and do that. I don't, that's just, that's how it is today. We have no plans of really changing that. But, I don't see people sending their leads to somebody else. I think probably others would welcome that if that was the case. But yeah, it's just about an access tab. And that kind of leads into, why you can't see certain tabs. So these tabs down here that I can start clicking into, email theme and theming of the app, these are administrative functionalities that you don't need to have, and honestly you probably shouldn't have, because this is where Art of Homeownership as a brand goes in and manages things. And so that's why you don't have access to some of these tabs, because they're really intended for an overall instance configuration, not down to your own personal level.
And also on the link side of things, that first point that you hit on, Chris, I think there's only going to be very few times that you go into that section to get your link. I mean, you as the loan officer should really be saving that information somewhere. You only need to access it one time. So I think a lot of people are more worried about accidentally copying the wrong link or whatever it may be. So I would recommend just saving that somewhere else, not in the Finlocker app. Just get that for your team so that they know what the link is and then what the invite code is. That's really all that you'll need for the app. Did anyone have questions on? Oh, there might be one that came. Let's say the drip system sent out invites to our clients to sign up for the Finlocker app and the client didn't accept at that time. After following up, they would like the invite sent to them again. Can you walk us through re-inviting the clients after they ignored or didn't see the invite? Okay, so in that case, this might be a question that would be good to hop into the the office hours that Laura on our team holds, but really all that they would need for that is your actual invite code. So you could just, if it's more of a manual thing where it's a one-off and they didn't accept it right away, you can really just send them that invite code in order to download the app and be on your specific instance of it. Otherwise, you could just, I believe, don't quote me on this, just put them into that drip campaign within Daily AI. You just have to make sure that it's the like new closed loans drip campaign. And again, that might be a question for Laura, because I think, okay, good. Okay, so it's the app campaign, not the new closed loans. So you just have to enlist them into that app campaign so that they would get all that information again. Okay. Is it correct that if someone goes to our AOH website, types in their info, they will automatically put the client to Daily AI? Yes, that is correct. So your custom link will populate in that email campaign. So they'll get all that information. So like we said, that's kind of how we're pushing people to get others to download the app, is to go to your website and fill out that information, because then they both go into your CRM and they get the app invite. Whereas if you just give them that app code, you'll see their information come through on the Finlocker admin portal side of things, but they won't be tracked in your CRM. So just to make sure that you're keeping a systematic kind of process with this, we're just pushing people to go to the your AOH website to fill out that information. Okay, one more. So best practice is to send everyone to the site. Yes, correct. Cool. Okay, I don't see any more questions right now. So really the last thing that we wanted to touch on, Chris, was right now, especially like given the market and everything going on, just some activities to really maximize the ROI and like best practices, what they should be doing in order to get in touch with more clients and just maximize the app in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, definitely the art of home ownership, that you guys have the mission, which we love, is the customer for life. And this is one great tool to give for that. I mean, even for those people who are financially sound, they can still track their property value. They get their credit score. They can see all their finances in one place. But, as you're talking, people are getting ready, whether that's for their first home purchase or they'll move up or refinance, is what is it that they need to work on, or what are they worried about to do, and point them to the sections of the app that do that. So for example, if they are just a little light on credit, or they need to get their credit score from good to great to get that better rate, they can use the credit simulator functionality, the credit compass. They can still monitor that. They can see what's on their credit. If they're wanting to get their whole net worth in order, they have the net worth statement on the in the app. If they're light on closing costs, they have budgeting tools within the app to do. They can always run readiness assessments to see where they're at in terms of purchase, with not having to really do much. I mean, if they have their stuff enrolled, it's a click of a button to go in. And also leading into that, we're dropping in some more new functionality to even do some quicker assessments on that. So I can show that in a little bit. But yeah, it really comes down to identifying what your clients are in need of, what they're trying to work on, what are their goals, and pointing out the sections of the app that do that. And then as they start playing around with the app, it opens up and it does a lot more. Now, another example is if they just need to get educated, they don't know what they know, there's a huge education library within here. We have a massive education library that they can go and start self-educating on, instead of having to go to Google 10, 20 different places. That answers the question, Al?
Yeah, and I think too, just this is really the long-term vision, and just maximizing the app in general is, I know Joel Marsh does this. I don't think he's on with us right now, but when you're working with a client, I would always recommend asking them who else in their network would benefit from using a tool like this. So when they see these kinds of resources, they're going to be excited and they're going to want to tell other people. And when you ask it's just framing it in the right way. So it's not who else could I work with, and you know, obviously you're going to benefit from it, but it's asking them, who else can I help in your network so I can share these resources with them free of charge, same thing that I'm doing for you. So you're going to be then adding, you know, two folds, you're going to double the amount of people that you're adding to the app and just starting those conversations. So if someone has really great feedback because they're working with you and you're offering all these great things, obviously their network is going to be more willing to engage with you as well. And those are much stickier relationships because they're referred by someone that they already trust. So that's kind of just a best practice that I've heard a lot of Art of Homeownership partners are doing, and I would recommend everyone do that as well.
And to add to that is when they're in the app, they're always connected to you and they can always reach out and contact. So right now, you know, they can send the email. Next month, we're actually going to have the ability for them to just directly schedule a meeting with you through the app. So if their annual reviews, they can schedule through there. So that's coming next month. I do see a quick question from Dustin. Is there test login account to show clients the apps without showing my personal finances? Yes, we do have. We don't have it for credit, but because credit, they require us, you know, to validate identity. But for accounts, we do have some test logins that we can do. I believe we've given it out to you. If you guys don't have it, we can send that over again to distribute. But there are from our data aggregator. So you're going to see when you do it. I just call out when you're running the clients, because some, depending on the accounts you enroll, they have large amount of transactions for a purpose because they're typically used for testing. But you don't have to show your own finances. So what you'll see is these type of things. Fiserv. So it'll be these different ones that come in. And so some of them will have a large amount of transactions within there. But yes, so short answer, yes, we can provide those.
Yep, I'm going to send that in the chat. I'm going to send that information in the chat right now. We do have all that, Chris, from you guys.
There was one more. I wanted to show another new feature that's coming, but I think Val, we had something else around email validation.
Yeah, there was, this was kind of a troubleshooting thing that we would get a lot of one-offs. So when you get that email validation when you're creating your account, I think a lot of people were having, they were having trouble validating, like it wasn't actually registering within the app that they had validated.
Yeah. So one big thing we did just a couple of weeks ago that greatly improved that is we put a concept of deep linking in there. For those that don't know what deep linking is, it means that prior to our release, when your clients got that validation email, it would just say, hey, validate, and then it would say, go open the app or direct them to the web. And it was kind of a little bit of broken loop. We have deep linking in there, which means is that it's going to, when they whatever they open that validation email, whatever device they have, if they're on a mobile device, and they click, validate, it's going to take them directly to the app and open the app. If they're on a desktop, it's going to take them to the web login. So there's a better seamless direction there. We also did some process improvements there. One thing I will say though is that there's something that's out of our control, any technology company's control, is sometimes those emails come within seconds. Sometimes they can take a few minutes. And so it's, if your client's getting in that loop, I guess they need to be a little patient because there is that piece of out of control. And then also if they have requested a new email, because sometimes they need to, just making sure that they're validating the latest email, because you have to go off of the latest validation. If you requested a new one and the previous one is no longer valid. So
thanks for touching on that, Chris. We also had a question, and this is kind of just general best practice. So if anyone has any updates or banks that they would like to see approved within the app, what is that process of reaching out to you guys? And then how often are updates made within the app for those types of things?
So they're continually updating. We partner with the data aggregator, and like any data aggregator, so we have Fiserv, there's a Plaz, there's the MX. No one has 100% coverage, and no one, will for the foreseeable future, because there are just things in there. Some banks don't, some financial institutions don't allow it. Some aren't up to date on it. Some require more data because it's so rural or minimally used that they haven't had enough credentials to get access to. But the process is to submit a support ticket directly in the app. So, right here, submit a support ticket, identify the institution, or actually, even when you are enrolling a bank account, if you can't find it, there is a button to say, you know, you can't find it. So let's just, I forget the name of that bank, but when you're adding an account, there's another thing. If they couldn't find my institution, you click this button and you can put that in. The process on our side is we work with our data aggregator. We say, hey, this is being requested to add. It'll come back with about 3 different things. 1, no problem, we're going to add it and give a time frame. 2, we're working on this, but there is an issue, and it'll give us details on the issue, and we can share that back with whoever supported the ticket. You know, sometimes it's like, hey, they need to whitelist our IP address, and we're just working through that process now. So that could be, you know, it could be a week, it could be a month. It just depends on the institution that's doing that. And then, unfortunately, there is a 3rd category. It's minimal, but there's a 3rd category where it's, sorry, but this financial institution does not play ball. They do not play ball with data aggregators. And that's not specific just to us. You're going to find that throughout any data aggregator situation.
Cool. Okay. And then Jeremy is asking, is there any way that we could have this reflect a FICO instead of Vantage? Because Vantage shows a better score than they actually have.
So we are looking into that. This is not the only time we've gotten this. You know, we did start with 2 reasons for the Vantage score. 3 reasons. 1 is because it is on par with all of the other ones, that all the other credit apps that are out there that people are used to seeing. 2, the tools within there, so Credit Simulator and Credit Compass, those things have not been built yet for FICO. And then 3, FICO is a decent amount more expensive than Vantage. And so as we're trying to distribute more lockers and keep the cost down for our clients, that's one piece. Now, what we are thinking about, nothing definitive at this point, but we're thinking about is, could there be a place where we drop it in where it's less of a run, it only is needed to be run at a certain time. So when they're really getting ready for it. So maybe it's something like when they're running readiness and they are ready to rerun it with the FICO. Those are type of things we're evaluating right now, but for those 3 reasons I mentioned before, that's why it's not just a drop and replace. So, Vantage for FICO.
Got it. Okay. Okay. I think that we covered everything that we wanted to cover. So, Chris, if we wanted to just open it up to general Q&A, if anyone had anything more in depth, if you want to raise your hand, we can bring you in. Or is there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Chris?
We can do, let's do, I want to make sure that everyone gets the question answered, but I do want to spend just a couple minutes showing new functionality that's going to be there in the app next week and the mobile app next week. But let's give some, I want to make sure everyone's questions are answered first and foremost.
Yeah, I think we're good right now. So go ahead and dive into this. And then if any questions come in, we can cover that in the last few minutes.
Okay, so this is going to be in the app next week. We're planning to submit to Google and Apple later this week. It might be in early next week, but sometime next week, you should see this in the app. Your consumer should see this in the app. And what this is when I just navigating back real quick, this readiness screen that I have up here, this requires a consumer to enroll their credit and at least one bank account and fill out some general profile information before they can run this. What we're doing is we're doing something just a little bit to try to drive engagement and drive why it's important to enroll in some of those other features in the app with a quick and easy way to do it. So just a few button clicks to get there. So answering a question on where you're at in your home ownership journey, and then taking them down to not necessarily needing to know right now, this is, we're just a test, but we're starting with the GSE guidelines. So is your credit 640 or above? Yes or no? Do you have 5% of the down payment? Yes or no? And here, if they don't know what that is, they can always, we're going to direct them to contact you as a mortgage advisor. So if they click that button, it'll directly collect to your contact card. Like right here, they could check their credit, so they could go in and enroll in credit if they don't know what their score is. They can put in their annual income, they put in their annual income, their monthly debts, and then it just gives them a quick readout of whether way to go or they need to work on certain areas. And then from there, they can reach out to you directly. So reach out to you directly or go to mortgage readiness or start going into more of the features that we're trying to get them engaged to so they can do a full readiness assessment. So the idea is here is a quick and easy way for them to just do a quick self-assessment, encourage them to dive deeper, and encourage them to have that discussion with you if they got questions or need to some guidance on where to go next.
That's awesome. So this would really be the step before the mortgage readiness assessment. So they would likely do that with the mortgage professional, correct?
Well, they could do it with more professional, or they could do it just on themselves. So when they enroll in the app, it'll be a first like toggle on the top, and it'll be in the quick links menu that they can just run this. Now that positioning might change there, but we're going to put that there and get the data feedback on how people are interacting with it and what's useful about it. But yes, this will be an upfront that the consumer could just do on themselves, or after they've had the conversation with mortgage advisor, they could run those same whatever they've heard back, that same understanding through there, and then dive deeper into the app.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. Okay. Don't see any questions coming through. Does anyone have any questions about anything that we went over today? Anything about the app in general while we have Chris and Ethan on with us today? Feel free to raise your hand now. We can kind of open it up.
Oh, Val, sorry, I sent. So what you sent there, and that's fine to use. The credentials you sent, that's actually not to log into financial accounts directly, like add financial accounts. That's the one actually I showed here. So what I've been navigating through, that's just a direct login to this locker. So if you guys want to use that, more than welcome to use that, but you can just use what I've showed here.
Okay, so if they would put that in, that would bring them to a test locker or no?
Yeah, it would bring them to this locker
Okay.
that I'm showing here. So you guys
Got
are
it,
more than
okay.
welcome to use that. I was when I was referencing earlier, we actually have test credentials too. Someone could use their own locker, but put in, enroll, test account financial accounts, but totally fine. This is then you don't have to worry about credit or anything else. It's all test data.
Got it, okay. Jessica is asking, are you guys looking into adding HomeBot linking into the AOH lockers? I think we had touched on that before. That's a no, right?
That's a no at this point. Yeah, I think Val, we can talk more details later, but I think that's at a higher level conversation of what the overall strategy is.
Okay. When I try to create a home binder for myself, it auto-populates my work email and takes me to the admin side. How can I get it to not auto-populate?
Oh, you probably have some sort of, that's not on us, but you probably have some sort of caching on your web browser. So you might need to clear your cache on that and try again.
Yeah, Roger, I would say reach out to me if you have any troubles, but I don't even know if I can help with that. Let us know if that helps, because just in case it happens to anyone else, we can troubleshoot that. Okay. Anyone else? We have a few minutes left here. Okay. All right, well, it looks like we're good to go. As always, if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out to the support team, support@artofhomeownership.com, and they will direct you to the right resources or answer your question straightforward. But we've done a lot of kind of that troubleshooting when it comes to validating emails, and we should be pretty good to go. Everyone has access to their account and is actively using it. So always encourage you to start working it into your marketing, start working it into all of your conversations that you're having to really start to get traction with the app. Oh, Nikki, thank you so much. So Nikki actually sent here, I'm going to send in the chat. This is basically how to access the dummy account or the test locker. Okay, otherwise, I think we are good to go. So as always, Ethan and Chris, thank you so much for joining us. This was really helpful. Excited to see everyone get up and running with this. And as always, reach out to us if you have questions or anything that you would like to see in these trainings moving forward. But otherwise, we will see you all next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.